Shalom, shalom, and welcome. This is Yasharal, Living Orders and Commands. It is an end-time series of messages that I am compelled to present before Yasharal, true Yasharal, those who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father and Creator. For I am compelled to believe in due season we will come to know as one awakening nation. His name is Yahuwah. And that it is he who manifests himself, his word, in the person, in the flesh, and walked among us and sacrificed that created fleshly body for us and ascended and was transformed in the person of Yahushua Messiah. And though many struggle with understanding the dynamics of this, as end times become intense, we will become humbled and come to know the oneness in the Almighty Father and his plan for our restoration and fellowship with him like never before. My brothers and sisters, this segment is entitled Temple Deceptions. Temple Deceptions. We are entangled with so many different terms and words and labels to describe a place that has been made by man, described as a set-apart place. We are more entangled with these man-made buildings than we are with the living vessels of the Almighty Father Yahuwah, functioning and working and living by his word, alive and restored in the fellowship by his set-apart spirit sent in Yahushua's name. With that said, let me get into this segment, Temple Deceptions. Here are some of the words that you may be familiar with in regards to the man-made buildings where people will assemble and gather. The word temple or hakal, worship place, mosque, the Lord's place or house, meeting place, vessel, synagogue, fellowship room, sanctuary, place of refuge, shelter, the shell, the building, the set-apart building, house of God, church, cathedral. These and many more terms are used to describe a building or a place where people gather to learn, to socialize, to teach, to receive words that they believe are indeed important for life. My brothers and sisters, over the years we have been exposed to many structures which ultimately describes a building built by man. Regardless of what label is used, each of the terms I just read describes a building or room within a building, possibly even a tent. We have been programmed to look up to these buildings and think highly of these structures throughout our lives. We have been conditioned by parents, families, our education system, our communities, media, and more to look at these structures with reverence. For those of us who seek to do the will of the Almighty Father, Creator, who are unlearned, we have embraced these labels as a place that is special. Individuals who grow in maturity in their pursuit of righteousness and their journey to discover set-apartness reach a point in their belief to know that buildings made with hands have less and little significance other than being a shelter from the cold, the heat, the rain, and outside elements, or a place to gather. What is most important, we come to discover, is that our bodies are vessels of the set-apart spirit of the Almighty Father sent in Yahushua's name. Over the years, prophecy or so-called prophecy scholars have placed a strong emphasis on the building of what they label as the third temple of Israel. Many believe end-time prophecies are centered around this third so-called temple of Israel. Many have embraced the notion that end-time prophecies can become clear when the third temple of Israel is built. It is widely taught that during the last days, during the great tribulations, that the anti-Messiah, or some who say the Antichrist, will step into the third temple and declare himself as the Almighty One, and for those under pagan label influence might say the temple of God, and try to declare himself as God. There are no doubts among believers that we have entered into the last days. In other words, end times have begun, and with this season, many prophecies foretold since the days of old are being fulfilled before our very eyes. As a result, we are now seeing more talk, more discussions focused on this third temple to be built at the Temple Mount in the geographic borders that we know as Israel right now. While there are individuals watching closely to witness the emergence of this third temple in Israel, there are many preachers, teachers, shepherds, and other leaders or outspoken individuals suggesting that their fellowship prepare their assembly places for the challenges ahead. In other words, just as much as there is attention drawn and focus on this third temple to be built in Israel, there are many leaders and shepherds that are directing their flock, so to speak, their followers, to begin to prepare their assembly places, the structure that they have for times ahead. There are many who believe that there will be a pre-tribulation rapture, from Christians to even Hebrews or Abrim. Hebrews, Abrim are synonymous to one another. They mean the same. Misguided, mistaught, embracing erroneous teaching, they have come to believe that it's a pre-tribulation rapture. And so the attitude is more so, better get saved now, because soon the Messiah will break the clouds and the saints will be caught up into the clouds. They take a position that is more of a do-nothing attitude, or just get saved, without regards to what the Spirit of Yahushua is saying to us, through us, one towards another. Who is able to discern? There seems to be a proliferation of emphasis being placed on structures, buildings, as end times become magnified. Who have witnessed these so-called mega churches sprouting up across the United States and other parts of the world? Who is aware of the size of the cathedrals which have been erected years ago, some even centuries ago? Will the end times continue to bring about temple deceptions? My brothers and sisters, before I go more into the end times and the importance of coming away from temple deceptions, allow me to present a reflection of real life actions regarding temples, buildings. I invite you to discern that many of them are as strongholds. Yes, they are strongholds. Billions of people have reverenced these buildings, regardless of what you call them. Buildings made with hands, with emphasis on them, influencing others to reverence these buildings made with hands. Yes, they are strongholds. End times will bring extreme humbling conditions. For those who truly seek to do the will of the Almighty Father, we will discover what is most important is that we begin to discern that our bodies are living vessels of the Almighty, individually and collectively as an awakening nation, under the banner of Yasharal. It has in times past, it is, and it will take humbling times to free individuals from the shackles of temple deceptions. My brothers and sisters, can we not agree that all of the terms I've used symbolizing quote-unquote a place of worship is nothing more than a meeting place? Can we agree that each of these places of worship, regardless of the label, describe a place where people are influenced in many ways, shapes, and form? Case in point, many people look at the cosmetics of the building, the conveniences, what type of seating, does it have heat and air conditioning? Some look at, well, do I have a place to park when I go to visit these places? These and many other characteristics of the building becomes a critical influence on whether a person will come together in fellowship. Each of these buildings made with hands influence our comings and going each week or at some point in our lives. Believe it or not, our dress is a factor for many. Yes, how we dress, how we look when we go to these assembly places. It is more costly than others when it comes to how or the need to look good, so to speak. We have witnessed behaviors across the board in most religions. If you were to research pictures of many different so-called worship places, it would not be difficult to see people dressed in fine clothing. In some communities, the types of vehicles you drive is a factor for commuting to the assembly place. It's no secret that among some religious groups, the leaders, the pastors, the shepherds of these assemblies, they prefer to have Cadillacs. And some have evolved and say, oh no, I want something better. So they prefer Mercedes-Benz or BMW or Land Rovers or some type of luxury vehicle. I've witnessed individuals who attend what is known as a prosperity church, where the members believe they must pursue acquiring the most expensive, if not the very least, a new car. These prosperity churches influence dress, vehicle purchase, the acquisition of homes, and other luxury and vanities. Luxury thing items and vanities, with many of them unaware that they promote servitude by influencing people to enlarge their debt just to look good. Eyewitness leaders promote prosperity and freedom of debt, but at the same time emphasize the importance of looking good, walking contradictions at its best. I have even seen mores who dress in fine garments, embroidered with the name of the Almighty Father, or Yahushua's name, or a menorah on it, totally disregarding the second commandment, totally disregarding the commandments of the Most High. Beyond white robes, these are garments with images of the name of the Almighty Father, with many who follow envying their dress, more focused on how they look, how good they look when they come together in their assembly places. Temple deceptions at its best. I have witnessed couples argue over money due to the purchasing of things to make them look good, whether it be getting their hair done, nails done, or a guy with certain types of raiment. And many arguments and many disruptions in families over what it takes to look good, so to speak, when they attend the assembly place. Temple deceptions, whether it's one's home or a building erected. If our focus is more so on the building and how we look and what we have when we assemble together, is this not influenced as a result of temple deceptions? My brothers and sisters, there's all types of battles we face. And many of the battles and conflicts oftentimes are centered around the temples. And oftentimes involve money. Whether it is money for the building, special projects, and or the assembly leader, or his or her spouse, their family. We have witnessed money mismanaged and misused in many ways. Some will use the guise that they're raising money for community outreach only to misuse the money. My brothers and sisters, in addition to these diverse influences that are specific to temple deceptions, temple influence, I submit to you, even within these temples are specific cliques, favorite circles of people who disagree with the teachings within the assembly. They mumble and talk behind one another's back, and they continue to linger around in compromising teachings, fueling division at its best. The structure and the order of many of these temples and or assembly places breed compromising beliefs, teachings, practices, and behaviors with total disregard to what the Spirit of Yahushua is saying, totally ignoring iron sharpening iron, totally ignoring focusing on Yahushua and the discipline thereof regarding set apartness, totally disregarding that the characteristics of the living orders and commands from the Most High should be reflective of a sovereignty, or as some may say, a kingdom. Many of these temples and or assembly places, whether large or small, tend to function like a democracy. The structure and function of most temples or assembly places is a reflection of a rule totally void of the very scriptures that they claim to be teaching. I have no doubt each of us have witnessed some type of assembly within a temple, a church, a cathedral, a synagogue, a mosque, etc. I have no doubt that the order of service is centered around a structured democratic process. One of the largest denominations we witness today use a democratic process. Who was able to see that there was an election of the new pope? My brothers and sisters, there is an enormous amount of influence in our lives centered around the building, the temple made with hands. Whether individuals get together in one small room or an extremely large cathedral, or gather within what is known as a megachurch, wicked influence exists. We already are aware of the flesh warring against the spirit individually. Many are unaware of the dynamics of the flesh warring against the spirit, that it occurs in an exponential fashion. Let me explain. I will present an example. Consider this. The flesh warring against the spirit. My flesh warring against my spirit. I will use three individual example. So person one's flesh war against the spirit, and person one fights and prays and seek to walk in set apartness with this flesh battling on an individual basis. Person two's flesh war against their spirit, and person three's flesh war against their spirit. Now when grouped together as three, person 1, 2, and 3's flesh, each individual's flesh, so there's three bodies, three fleshly vessels, war against the flesh of person 1's spirit. The flesh of each individual collectively war against person 2's spirit, and the flesh of each individual war against person 3's spirit. Now another example could be that the spirit of person 1 and person 2 are on one accord, only to face the warring and battles that the flesh of all three brings. What if person 1 and 3 are on one accord? Then they battle the flesh of all three and the spirit of 2. This may sound confusing, my brothers and sisters. There are many diverse examples I can provide, but I will stop with this one just to present the fact that there are so many battles among us. It is important, it is imperative, and we will learn. As end time conditions become intense, we will learn the importance of focusing on the spirit of Yahushua Messiah, and we will witness growing in discernment. We will witness a rise in the spirit and the ability to identify what is wicked and what is indeed set apart. We will come away from the influences, the strongholds of temple deceptions. We will come away from compromising teachings and practices and behaviors. We will come away from compromising gathering places that fester, feed, and breed temple deception. Let me pause right here, my brothers and sisters, and ask that you tune in to part 2 of this multi-part segment. Again, it's entitled Temple Deceptions. It is important, my brothers and sisters, that we begin to realize during these end times, we will be refined. We will be perfected in the image that the Almighty Father has designated. And we will come to know the wickedness of temple deceptions, and we will be freed from such strongholds, freed and delivered from wickedness. We will learn what it is to come out of them, and we will know among our ranks how to yield to the Spirit of Yahushua and witness His power, His might, His words working through us, in us, one towards another, and through His leaders as He purge wickedness from among us. Until next time, my brothers and sisters, stay tuned for part 2 of this multi-part segment, Temple Deceptions. Shalom, shalom, shalom.